Welcome to the Heart of Business podcast. I'm your host, Mo Fatalbab, president and founder of IFO, International Facilitators Organization. And we are here to create great peer groups all over the world because we believe wholeheartedly they change lives. And it is a pleasure today to have an amazing guest on the show. She has had multiple businesses do over $50 million in annual revenue. But get this, she only spends 10 hours a week overseeing the operations of those businesses. And thanks to her magical teams of five-star employees. Welcome to the show, Danielle Mulvey. Hello, Danielle.
Hello, Mo. It's so great to see you.
Great to see you. How are you today?
I'm doing fabulous, fabulous, fabulous. Excited to be here and excited to chat with you.
Wonderful. So, Danielle, you've got a great story, and I'm captivated by how you have gotten so many businesses to run without you, which is a trick that a lot of CEOs certainly struggle with. But I want to start from the beginning. So tell us where you grew up and what childhood was like.
Okay. So I grew up in Southern California, specifically Orange County. And I knew since I was a little girl that I wanted to go out of state to school. Now that's the big thing. But back when I went out of state to school, it was pretty unusual. And I remember telling my friends I was going to go to Vanderbilt University. This is like circa, early 90s. And they're like, "You're going to learn how to make jeans?" They had never heard of Vanderbilt. They thought I was going to the Gloria Vanderbilt School of Fashion Jean Making. I don't know. So I went to Vanderbilt, graduated from there, and ended up with a degree in political science and communication studies, and settled in Nashville and started my first business at the ripe old age of 25. And Nashville was such an amazing community. I don't live there now, so I speak of it in the past tense, but it was 1 degree of separation. And so I was able to start a business. It was very entrepreneurial, and everyone was about connecting. And actually, that's where we met because I joined. Back then, it was YEO.
That's right. It was Young
Yes,
Entrepreneurs Organization.
young. You had to be under 40, and then they had to change that. So yes, so I joined YEO. Yeah, I said
Yeah,
it right.
yeah.
In 2000. So yeah.
Amazing. And what business was that business?
So that was an advertising and marketing agency. And we specialized in working with companies in the jewelry industry and high ticket items, cars and homes. So that was our niche.
And tell us how you got started in that business.
Uh, I worked at my first job was at an advertising and marketing agency. This is going to be awkward to recount. When I started with them, they had about 65 employees. Fast forward about 12 months later, and it was down to 15 employees.
Mm,
It was just this weird craziness, and everyone was running for the hills. I tried to run for the hills 2 prior times, and they threw more money at me. And the third time that I wanted to run for the hills, I just was like, you can't bribe me to stay. Like I just can't.
there's not enough
And
money to
such.
keep me here, huh?
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, it just there was some weird things going on and such, but lovely people and people that I'm still dear friends with today and such. But so when I left there, a client came to me and said, "Okay, you were our fourth account executive in the last year, but you were the best one. Could you, to continue our business and such?" Because let's just say the other business folded pretty quickly after I left. Not that I was keeping it together, but so that's how I started with that business, and then it just kind of picked on from there. And we were the Maverick group, so we were very very Maverick oriented, and we attracted clients that had a Maverick sort of mindset too, or a Maverick kind of approach with regards to their businesses.
So I love that word, and it speaks a lot to, the spirit of entrepreneurship that we're so familiar with. Why did you pick that word yourself, and what does it mean to you?
Well, I was just, even though I only spent about a year in the traditional advertising and marketing agency, I just felt that they were still, this agency was founded in the 60s, and it seemed like they were still doing things like the 60s, in the 90s. And so, I just I don't know if maybe I was young, and obviously marketing and advertising has changed significantly from those days, but I mean this was still a little bit like they were still living in the Mad Men era back at this agency and such. And so I just knew that things were going to be different. So things that we did that it just kind of like shocked me today. And actually I was going through some stuff, but like we created a testimonial booth actually, and with a fellow YEOer who had a tech company. We created a booth where we could capture testimonials from customers inside the showroom of an automotive dealership and such. And so, because we were using those testimonials for, and this is, I'm sorry, but I think this is before Yelp and before like really kind of testimonials and that kind of thing took up and such. So we were always kind of ahead of things. We had one client called Plum Good Foods. It was like DoorDash, and Instacart, but in
Nashville.
2001,
Yeah.
2001, right? And it's so just things ahead of its time. So it just worked. And I feel like that's, kind of what I'm working on right now is, something that's going to replace Indeed. So, I like to think of myself as a maverick and just kind of trying to like look at how to make things better.
Yeah. Well, I want to get into what we're going to do that's going to replace Indeed. But before we get there, so you started your first business and a success from day one. Did you have any struggles along the way?
Oh, I had some struggles, for sure. So I was lucky with my first few hires, but there was one Monday morning. It was definitely a Monday morning, and I woke up, and instead of springing out of bed, I rolled over, put my head under my pillow, and asked myself, "Can I call in fake sick to my own company?" Because I didn't want to face another week with
Someone.
Larry. Just the saying his name brings back PTSD.
Oh
It
no.
was it was a mishire that I made, and he made me miserable. He made his fellow colleagues miserable, and I didn't call out fake sick that day. But I resolved myself to take three immediate actions that day. Number one, Larry was moved to alumni status ASAP, meaning that was his last day. Um, and number two, I decided that I needed to stop, excuse my French, half-assing my hiring.
Mm.
I was going off of anecdotal things that I would hear from people. Oh, if you'd like to, um, go and have a beer at happy hour with them after work. That's someone that you'd want to hire. Someone that means they like you. Oh, referrals. Get referrals from people and hire referrals because then they've already done the vetting and such. And that no, that does not work, guys. And I'm sure everyone here has tried that too and realizes, okay, yeah, not so hot. So I resolved myself to go all in and really figure out like how to not make this higher type of hiring mistake again. And then number three, I just also said I'm not going to settle. So
Mm.
it's about not settling for mediocre or average and setting the bar. And I settled with Larry for too long, and I let him stay too long in the organization. And I was talking to someone the other day, and oftentimes people think, oh, well, we'll just kind of make it more miserable for them that they self-select themselves out and such. But sometimes they don't really get the message.
Oh yeah.
And so, in terms of never settling, like now it's just like I set a bar, and if you don't meet the bar, like you're not going to get hired, or you're going to go out. Because I think the challenge that companies have, and we grew pretty quickly at the Maverick Group, is that just because you hired someone when you started out, as you grow and you pass $3 million, $5 million, etc., that person might not grow with the organization, and you might need to replace them with someone who has experience in an organization that's doing 10, 12 million dollars.
Yeah.
And because it's a different, it's a different game, it's a different set, and nothing lasts forever. That's, I think, something that um people, hiring managers, just kind of want to hire someone and have loyalty forever, and that's not fair to people in
It's not
general.
fair to them. It's not fair to the company. It's
Yeah,
not fair
yeah.
to
So
the.
I think it's having a good mindset about what's realistic, in terms of your talent management.
And so the Maverick Group was your first business, and is that
Yes.
business still up and running, or did you?
No, no, that one isn't. So we actually went in-house with one of our clients when I started having children, and then my job there was to help that company get acquired in 5 years. We did it in 3 years, and it was acquired by a division of United Healthcare for $250 million. And then we moved back to California in 2009, and my husband and I started a couple of businesses in 2010 that we still have today, and that we've added other businesses. So those businesses we started in 2010. One is a construction material supply company, and another one processes long-term care claims. So we don't have eggs in one basket. And then today I have a consulting business. And then we have the five-star employee hiring system and the all-in company. So we've got a lot going on, and a lot of great teams.
And I would just guess that this very strict hiring protocol that you put into place has a very direct correlation to your ability to trust your team, to your ability to have 10 hours of work with several $50 million businesses. Um, and of course, you had to really change something about yourself along the way. Can you talk us through that a little bit?
Yeah, it was really changing my mindset of, I think when you start a business, you have a vision, and you're very controlling about that, and you tend to think that no one can do it like you, no one can do it better than you, and it's only you. And I was sort of like kind of frustrated, and I realized after Larry that I could only grow as good as I could grow my team.
Mm.
And I had lofty aspirations to grow. And so along this path, I have recognized that I can find people, and I can identify great people and great talent by putting some effort into it. Most people are half-assing their hiring, and when you half-ass your hire, I say you get a half-ass employee. Like, you get someone who's okay for the role. But when you go all in on your hiring, and you really understand exactly what you need, exactly what you're looking for, then you find that person. And it's not about trying to squeeze a square peg into a round hole role.
Yeah.
If you're hiring someone and say, well, we'll see how this works out in 90 days, you've already made a bad hire. If that's your mindset going into it, because you should make a hire, and you should be 100% confident that this is the best candidate for the role, who's going to knock it out of the park because they meet the 5 criteria
Yeah.
of on the five-star employee scorecard. So
I love that. I love that. So, along your story here, I picked up that you work with your husband, and I know that can be really challenging. What have been your tricks and tips for making that work effectively and not challenging your relationship?
Well, you know what? I will say that and we both are friends with Mike Michalowicz, but I think that when we implemented profit first in our businesses, that helped everything, because the thing that you most disagree about is how the money is
Mm.
running in the business and such. And so, he had his opinions, I had my opinions. When I found Profit First, I just gobbled that book up and geeked out about it. And then he read it, and we agreed that it wasn't going to be my opinion or his opinion. We were going to implement the system in place. So I think Profit First is a great for people who are married, or even if you have a business partner. It just gives clarity to the cash in your business, and it gives intention and purpose to the cash in your business. And cash is king in your businesses and such. So I think that really helped. And then it was sort of like, his lane and my lane. So he is sales, and I am like behind the scenes in operations and marketing, et cetera, and such. And so, and then I think also too, having the daily huddle
Yeah.
every morning with the entire team just keeps everyone on the same page, and there's transparency, there's accountability. So not, accountability from the owners to each other, as well as accountability with employees and such. So I think that Profit First, all good things that come from my EO days, Profit First and daily huddles, really and that's too how I can run these businesses in 10 hours a week, because I pop into the daily huddles. I have a pulse on the business every day, and if there's something that's sort of like going, in a different direction, I can pull it back in and redirect the team or the individual that has on their plate of the three things they're going to do today something that is, not not going to have the impact that we need for their time in that day. So, and that kind of goes back to, I understand what my people need to be doing during the day. So too often people make hires and leave the employees to their own devices and their own figure it out kind of thing and stuff. And when we make a hire, we've already mapped out, hey, here's what your ideal week looks like.
Mm.
And it's blocked out, and it is a schedule, and they can see it. And so it really also helps when you're onboarding people, because it's like, let's get you into getting this, doing these things in this schedule as quickly as possible. And so, when we have a hire, they're hitting the ground running at 50 miles an hour, and they're going 100 miles an hour in a couple of weeks, not 3 months or 6 months, so.
Well, I'm starting to see how you might create a product that competes with Indeed. So tell us more about that if you can.
Yeah. So, again, things just resumes, number one, are so 1950s. And tragically, now they can be AI'd. So a candidate can take a job description and that they've applied to or that they want to apply to in AI their resume. And so most companies are kind of judging candidates, I very subjectively, off of the resume. And just because someone says they can do it doesn't mean that they can do it. And then the system's also broken because candidates are having to tediously apply to individual jobs. Even if they're on Indeed, they're still having to go through and find the jobs that they want to apply to and such. And they have to, go through whatever those companies want them to do to apply for the job. So, and again, candidates are being looked at and judged very subjectively by people who are half-assing their hiring to begin with. And, I mean, I've heard from HR managers who, they have someone, a department head, who's desperate to make a hire. It's like, I need this job posted now. So they'll post the job. And then, over the course of a couple of weeks, they'll get 100 resumes. And then that hiring manager's done nothing with it. And now they're overwhelmed with over 100 resumes, and they only look at 20, and then they go from there. And that is so unfair to the 100 applicants that you had, and it's an old system, and there's technology now, guys, that can do this much better. So what we have is we're launching 5-Star Central. And so what 5-Star Central does is it allows candidates to come in and take an assessment. And they take one assessment, and then employers come in, and for each role that they're hiring for, we help them set a benchmark for their ideal candidate for each role. So when what happens then is when a candidate takes an assessment and we have employers, we're able to match where people meet the benchmark for the different roles that are out there. So we're using technology, we're using automation, we are making this way, way, way more efficient, and we're being objective.
All right.
Completely objective, because the assessment is assessing a candidate's abilities, their motivations, their personality, their work fit, their team fit. Is this someone who's better in office or remote? Is this someone who prefers a fixed salary or commission and bonus? So it's able to assess on so many factors that most companies are missing when it comes to making hiring decisions.
Amazing. When can I start using it?
Well, you can start using it now.
Okay.
And we have a way that we're using it now on the employer side. So you can go to 5staremployeehiringsystem.com, the number 5staremployeehiringsystem.com, to check that out.
All right. Wonderful. And now I'd love to know more about what you're doing with Michael McAllowix. If you could tell us
Oh,
about
yes,
that.
yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah, yeah.
yes. So well, I became such a nerd, such a fan of Profit First, that I actually became the host of the official Profit First podcast, Profit First Nation. So
Uh-huh.
if you want to geek out over Profit First, join us at Profit First Nation. But then what's interesting about the whole Profit First thing is that when we looked at why are people still struggling with their profitability, because there's only two ways to increase profitability: decrease expenses and or increase margin. Their expenses, their biggest expense item is payroll.
Mm.
And so when you have mediocre employees, that's dragging down your payroll. That's inflating your payroll unnecessarily, and that is killing your profitability. One 5-star employee does the work of two or three 1, 2, and 3-star employees.
Hmm.
So, Mike's books are all about an evolution of like what's the next problem that he can help entrepreneurs solve. And so it's the employee side of things, and it kind of came out of seeing people's struggles with their with Profit First. So I collaborated with him on his latest book, All In: How Great Leaders Build Unstoppable Teams. And we, talk about exactly like if it's about going all in. And if you go all in on your people, you don't have to spend as much time, because you're have people that can take the ball, run with it to the end zone. And so you can work on the business instead of being just in the business. So we've done that. We have the All In Company, and then that has translated into the All In Assessment, which is the assessment that we've talked about, and the 5-star employee hiring system that employers can use on the employer side. So
Danielle, you are so motivating. Where did you get your motivation? Who's inspired you? What lit the spark?
So you know what? I grew up in an entrepreneurial family. My dad is has had a wood framing construction company since 1978, and I worked in that company starting when I was in third grade in the summers. I was the before Xerox invented the automatic document feeder and sorter. I was that person. So I would copy lumber lists and then have to sort them and make the lumber packets to send to the lumber companies. And I was filing things, and I was so I grew up in an entrepreneurial family. And so I didn't know anything else. My professors are like, "Well, aren't you going to law school?" I was like, "Oh no." I'm gonna go into business one day. So it happened sooner than I thought at 25, but it's my dad's been my inspiration and just a rock.
And I'm sure he's very proud.
Yeah, we're actually getting to work on a project together right now, ironically. So it's fun.
Yeah. So along the journey and as a member of the Entrepreneurs Organization, I'm sure you joined a forum, a peer group.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm curious as to the effect of forum on you, your life, your business life.
Oh my
What can
goodness.
you tell us about that? I know it's confidential, but how has it impacted
Oh,
you?
yeah. So I remember Forum, uh, it when people would talk about things, I would just be like, "Oh my gosh, like I can't imagine this happening to me." And it was like 3 months later it would happen to me. But I had resources, I had ideas on how to face things and such. And I mean, I am still friends with my forum group. Even though I don't live in Nashville anymore. I was just texting with someone this week from my forum group. I could call any of them at any time. The connection that you make and the value of peer-to-peer um sharing of experiences is priceless. uh and I would just always be able to take um what we would talk about in forum and just kind of, even though it wasn't my turn in sort of the hot seat, I would be able to take kind of like that whole discussion and walk away and just kind of like think about it and think about like how could that help me in my business now with just certain ideas and such. I just and I met with someone the other day, to kind of like pick their brain, and I was lamenting that here in Southern California, I've been here since 2009. I said I just haven't had that entrepreneurial community that I had in Nashville with Forum and EO and such. And so that was a nice like kind of treat. To it was just one on one and such, but the value of of peers sharing their experiences and such is just the best kind of way to navigate it all.
Yeah. So you're an entrepreneur, you're a keynote speaker, you're a podcast show host, you're a mother, you're a wife. Let's exclude the personal ones for the sake of the question. Which of those roles is most exciting and energizing to you?
Um, I oh my goodness, that's a hard question. I just really what I really love is I love helping people find and be in a role that they are a true five-star fit for.
Mm.
Because when you're a true five-star fit for your role, you love going into work. You'll work 8 hours a day because you're using your gifts, you're using your abilities. It is an ideal match. You're motivated. It all matches up. The problem, there's studies out there that say, oh, your employees are only effective and productive like 4 hours a day or something. And I'm like, yeah, because they're not good at what they do. They don't love what they do. So they spend half the time procrastinating about what they do. And everyone is a five-star fit for something. I could get hired tomorrow as a bookkeeper, but I'd be a two-star bookkeeper because I could pass the test and I host an accounting podcast. Like I know numbers, I know finance, but doing the tedious work, God bless the bookkeepers out there that are reconciling statements and doing all that. Like I would procrastinate all day long.
Amen.
And
Amen
only
to that. I'm a
and
finance major. Exactly the same as you. There's no way I wouldn't be that accurate.
you know and and,
And
and and so that's where I'm not a five-star fit. But when I'm
yeah.
but like I mean, I say I work 10 hours a week, but like I'm busy, obviously, more than 10 hours guesting and keynoting and this, that, the other, but in overseeing the operations of the team, I'm not in the business, I'm on the business and such. So I don't want to mislead anyone that I'm like, clocking out and just sitting on a couch or something. But yeah, I think it's helping people just really find that ideal fit, and the role is a fit, the company's a fit, like, and you spend so much time working, you should be happy about what you're doing, and you shouldn't be employees shouldn't be settling and employers shouldn't be settling. So I'm my mission, my the 5-star central is to, fix the broken system and help people really be that, find that, if they're a round peg, found that round hole role.
Yeah, I always said that in the hiring process. We're not here to impress you and fool you into something that isn't what you love. And I hope that the same is true for you, because if this is going to work out, it's got to be just the right fit.
Yeah.
There's nothing, it's not about tricking one another. It's got to be the right fit.
Yes, 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 exactly. So our system like helps sort and figure all that out in an objective fashion. So, yeah.
Yeah, amazing. And let's talk about your mentors for a second. I assume you had many along the way, one
Yeah.
of whom maybe even your father, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll let you tell us who maybe are the top two, three people that really influenced you and how.
Yeah. So my dad influenced me. I was going to start the Maverick group with a business partner, and he said, "Don't." And I was like, "Why? You have a business partner." And so now I see why. um, and I even have husband and wife teams. I just think it's best to keep it separate, but that's my opinion and that's my experience. I had another mentor in Nashville, and we still stay connected and such. And he just gave me great advice, and I mean, I was so I feel like I was so young at the time and so naive and such. But gave me great opportunities, facilitated great introductions, and just kind of would share his experiences, like what would he do different, if he could go back and do something differently. And then just this week, my former landlord, at one of my offices, uh, I met with him on Wednesday, and he had a business and new technology and this, that, the other, and then he had a very successful exit from it. And so, again, I was just like wanting to understand, like, what were your experiences? Like, what do you think was the magic? What do you think, you did well? And he was very, very gestalt, very gestalt. In his sort of also advice to me, and he he said, well, what do you want your exit to look like? And I always talk about reverse engineering, and because I was just like, I've got this chessboard and I've got all of these pieces on there. And I said, I have to make a move. And I said, I don't know what move to make. And that's what I was like kind of going to him for. And he said, well, what is the exit? And that just like that helped me go, okay, this is the move that I have to make. And I have been so like on cloud nine since that conversation and since that sort of aha. Um, and what's next, because it has been stymieing me for a bit. Like I've been getting things into position, but now I've got to make that like that the big move now. So
It's really interesting to me because I often see a lot of entrepreneurs and often feel this way myself, in that what's next? What's the big move? What's next? What's the big move? And here you are, uh, more than one $50 million company, and still you're asking yourself the question, what's next? What's the big move? So my question to you is, when will you know that you have achieved everything that you actually want to achieve?
Oh,
Oh,
um, uh, I don't, um, I'll say it here. When Indeed is no longer has the number one market share.
all right. Love it. Love
So
it. We're going after big stuff.
yeah, yeah.
Wonderful. And Danielle, what is one book that you're reading or that has had a lot of influence on you?
Well, I mean, I have to, I mentioned Profit First.
Yeah.
And I'm just kind of bummed that people don't seem to be readers anymore. I mean, the numbers on book sales are just like
Mm.
minuscule now and such. But I mean, I really All In by Mike Michalowicz is a gem. And it's just when people read it, it's just like they're blown away by it. So I have to give props to Mike Michalowicz's books, but specifically Profit First and All In.
Well, I think he is amazing, and I know it's a great book. And thank you so much for being with us. And thank you to our audience. As a reminder, podcast reviews have a real impact on a podcast visibility. So if you like the show, please give a review to help others find us. And thank you so much once again, and have a wonderful day.